Alright, welcome to episode 36 of History Rewritten. Last time, in fact it's been a very long time since it was last time. And that's for multiple reasons, including school and illness. I'm always getting ill and it's not fair. I don't do well in the cold or the hot, actually. I just don't do well at coping with illness, so that looks good for the future. Anyway, the Lime team is the main focus of this episode, as you may see in the thumbnail, probably. Because in the past few episodes, they've been doing a couple things which aren't really liked by many people, such as putting their military in other countries. So the Lime team, they've got a huge sphere of influence all around the world, like the Indian Ocean mainly. But they've been putting their troops in lots of different countries, just like who else? You guys. All of these ones. All the Chinese countries. Probably some of these guys a bit. Yeah, just like out and around. And people really don't like that. So they're going to devise a way to stop this, as the Lime team put their troops in the Terracotta Nation, and they kind of go, guys, I have had enough of this. So we have the Amsterdam Treaty, where the Terracotta Nation, they've come up with something, and that something is it's pretty imperialist, to be honest. Yeah, it's pretty hugely thought of in the name of making an empire, which they do already have, but like making more of an empire. So the Terracotta Nation gathered together lots of the colonial powers. So it's mostly Western Europe. They get boom, just a load of people, and starting with the strongest of the colonial powers, other than India, we have Britain, and they take turns each choosing a colony the Lime team they would like to have, because the plan is to just tear apart the Lime team's empire. They want them gone. They want their sphere of influence, their power, to just be eradicated from this area. They've had enough, and it's kind of fair, to be honest. So, yeah. For example, Britain's gonna be like, I want Sumatra, and Iberia's gonna be like, I want Papua New Guinea, and then the Terracotta Nation, and then the Irish Nation, and it spirals out from there, as each of them make their claims on territories, some of them a bit strange, but, oh well. And let's get down to doing that. So the colonial powers also include the Asian ones, like Korea, that's not Korea, Sakhalin, Korea, and Japan. The Chinese are not invited to this treaty, however, oh well, it's alright, you'll be fine, don't worry. What is this border as well? This is not a nice looking border here. Or this one. This one's okay. And this one doesn't look great. Like, some of these old borders are just horrific. I mean, what is this as well? Just fix this bit. Let's just do a land exchange. I could probably devise that. Anyway, so yeah, they're going to send their troops around. Lots of people go down to here in Madagascar, Swedish Madagascar, as the Swedish claim, pretty understandably, this area of stuff. So in North Madagascar, these Comoros Islands, I believe, and Mayotte no, this is Mauritius. See, I know Reunion's down here, but Reunion is owned by France, and it's probably also not pronounced exactly the same as that. Some other countries who join the Swedish down here are the Bretons, who want just these islands, and the blue North African country, who, they've really lost, like, let's go colonize thing. They're just really not pro-colonization anymore. Barely. I mean, they've got a couple of colonies around the world. However, it's like, oh no, I don't really want any colonies, we're fine without. And everyone's just like, go on. I just keep making Father Ted references. It's not good. Anyway, so they make a tiny claim on the Andaman Islands. However, these islands make a lot of money. If you imagine the Malacca Strait, these guys control this entire thing. So, yeah, it's not like they're really holding back. I mean, they kind of are, but still get quite a lot of money out of this thing. So that's good, I suppose. And they send their forces down here. And that's when they declare war on the Lime team. So, let's have a look at how that goes. The Swedish will be sending their forces all around this sort of area. They make their way onto these islands and capture them pretty quickly because there's barely anyone posted there. As for Madagascar, they send their troops onto the eastern coast here, and they manage to capture this pretty quickly. The other Bretons and Algerians will send theirs on the western side, and they climb up towards the pretty much one major city of this place and manage to take it very quickly. From there, the Bretons will capture this, and then we've got Tanzania, but they're not going to worry about that as they start going island hopping, taking this, I think that's the Seychelles, I want to say, before heading onto these islands, but the Maldives are slightly harder to get to, so they'll worry about that later. Let's hop over to Australia. Yeah, my throat still hurts. It's really annoying. It's just always my throat as well. I mean, there's much worse things to have in terms of illnesses than your throat hurting, but it's really, really aggravating. So, yeah, I don't like it. Understandably. Anyway, so lots of troops being sent down here to Australia, including the terracotta troops who claim this Australian bit as their next colonial thing. So they make their way into the south of this place. However, it's pretty deserty, so that's going to be tricky. They make their way along the coast. Let's say bam, 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 bosh. There we go. Major cities. Just update that quickly. So they want to capture this major city that's been here for absolutely ages, as you remember from like all those previous episodes where that major city was a well-established place, filled with lore and intrigue. But they're getting into the desert now, and that's causing the death of lots of troops. There's kind of stalemate up here. However, they nearly managed to cut off this city from the rest of the Lime Team Australian territory. And the Lime Team, they're mobilizing their forces, but they're really not prepared for this. The Koreans, the Japanese, and the Civilisation will make their way down here, and that's when China sends some boats to intercept them. Now, China is a pretty huge ally of India. One of the reasons why China is so powerful at the moment is because of their alliance with India, which dissolved the southern Chinese country, and now they're in Vietnam, Indochina area. And they have a lot to thank the Indians for. So it makes a lot of sense to try and intercept these boats, and a big old naval battle occurs over here. How they manage to capture the leader of the Chinese thing, and have a little sit down. They go, dude, we're just going to divide this up. There's been loads of Indian troops in your country. Surely you can understand the fact that we want to put a stop to this. And the Chinese are kind of going to go, you know what? Alright, if you let me have some stuff, actually probably don't say that, I don't mean that. If I fight it, I'll not attack you. And then they say, give the Catalonian nation a Philippine island, and you can also have these islands, because nobody wants these islands. The Solomon and Bougainville island chain. Sorry. Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? Coughing on camera. So the Chinese agree not to help the Indians, and that's good, I suppose. So from there, they managed to continue their progression southwards, as the Koreans want to have this Chinese colony over here. So the Koreans make a landing in Hainan, which probably needs to be bam, bam. But there you go. Alright, I probably need to update like a lot of this. So you need some more trade cities. Actually, you're probably fine. And there you go. Anyway, so the Koreans make a landing in Hainan and begin to go across to their one major city right in the center of the country, colony, island. And that's pretty easy. They managed to capture it relatively quickly, and Hainan has been taken by the Koreans. From there they go up to the southern point of this peninsula bit and take that. However, they're repelled by this. This is basically the capital. Actually, this is probably the capital. It's the second biggest city in this colony. So instead they go around to the western side, climb into the northern reaches of this country, which are pretty depopulated, and there's not much economic activity going on up there. So we'll leave that for a moment. As we head to the Philippines, so the Chinese are going to help the Catalonians who come across the Pacific Ocean. So they go all the way from this giant island colony they made last time, travel across the Pacific Ocean, and make their way to the Philippine Islands. The Chinese let them use their North Filipino colony as a base, and they begin to wreak havoc on the Philippine Islands. So they take this western one, eastern one, and begin to slowly trek westwards, taking lots of these places. Boom. They get towards one of the major cities, and they have a pretty tough battle on this island. However, in the end, they manage to win the battle, encircle the city, because they sent troops from here, and also from the eastern side, and they managed to take the island. From there, they start a push into the northern part of the South Filipino island. So I suppose we'll leave that where it is for there. You know, so you're going to start pushing into the rest of Selu. I think that's how it's pronounced. But we shall see. By now, more European forces are making their way into the West Indonesian sort of island chain bit, because they claim an awful lot of that stuff. In a sec, I'll get around to doing that. My throat feels really rubbish. To be honest, I didn't think it would hurt this much from talking, but, you know, oh well, great. I just always like the quality videos, where it's meant to be really good, because it's an important part for the rest of the series, or short term probably, like, actually no, might be quite important for world wars and stuff. You know, European powers probably going to play a role in those, but we'll see. Maybe not, maybe they just go, not our problem, and all the world wars are just about, like, these islands, the skirmishing, the Lesser Antilles, have a big old scrap, and that's the world wars for you. Wouldn't be a world war then, would it? No. Alright, so they take the southern part of these Maldivian Chagos archipelago islands, kind of split it like, why did I do it like that? They split it like this, as is like a naval supremacy thing. The Britons take the southern part and the Indians are in the north. The Indians would easily be able to beat this in normal time, however they're having to split their forces all over the rest of the empire, because they're worried there might be more invasions in their Iranian, Pakistani, other Indian territories, and also across all of this East Indies stuff. This is East Indies, yeah. Sorry, it's really annoying. There you go. Alright, so the Dutch managed to cut off this final bit, take the city, and they start progressing towards the next one, which they also managed to capture. They connect up their forces, but now they're not really worrying about the rest of this desert. They're more worrying about getting to the next major city. I mean, this is probably quite a distance. You know, Australia is a big place. But yeah, anyway, so that's the new Australian front lines. The Indians aren't winning over there. By now, the blue team have made their way to the Andaman Islands. They're going to take those. There we go. Anyway, a few other people travel across the Pacific, including the purple Iberian country, as they make a landing in Papua New Guinea, as I said, well, New Guinea, I suppose. Why am I up here? So they make a landing in New Guinea, which, yeah, they claim this bit. So they capture the island of New Ireland. I love that it's called that. Where is the resemblance to Ireland there? I know it's an island. Also, this island's called New Britain, so that's cool. It doesn't bear that much resemblance either. But, well. and they get to this very sparsely populated area of New Guinea. I have literally, in all my time, and I've been using this mapping software just for fun. This is paint. I've never done anything on New Guinea. Like, actually, never. That's interesting. Anyway, so they make their way along this area, and it's mostly just jungle that they're fighting. And the fact, finding resources and stuff, because that's tricky. But it's mostly the western part of the island that's got any people on it. And those people are probably fleeing, so it might not be an immensely tricky fight for this place, but we shall see. Adding more cities to make it more difficult. There's quite a lot of cities, but oh well. I feel like there's some pretty good places in New Guinea for cities. So we'll see. They managed to make good headway in the north over here, and get pretty close to this sort of peninsula panhandle, I don't know, that bit. And take this northern territory before collapsing it in towards the south, taking this. But actually, we're going to leave it for them. They take this island bit, and yeah. As we return to the Philippines, the Catalonian nation manages to take the rest of Cebu and this southern island. For with some more Spanish Iberian people, we have the Grenadans making their way. Also, Tanzania is captured. It's a long siege, but the blue team, they've captured the Andaman Islands, they go. Because, there's a lot of blue team people, actually, who've moved over here to this colony. So they want to make sure they're treated correctly, because they really care about the African people now. And they've shifted their worldview significantly. Yeah, there's that. So, attacks on North Borneo. Oh, why did I colour in all those islands? It's an amazing question. Anyway, so the Grenadans managed to capture a lot of the northern part of this island, which is pretty sparsely populated. However, the central bit just showed you the meaning of sparsely populated, as they capture a huge amount of this immensely quickly, and begin to move towards the southern parts of this island. And that was my family. Great. So they managed to split off this major city down here in the south and take that as their own new territory. So Grenada is having a pretty good time over here. These colonies are sending their forces from down here in the north, up here in the north. Also, the Korean front line should probably be updated, as they managed to take all of this stuff and progress across the north over here. So it looks like they're closing down on this colony pretty quickly. However, some people from China, there's a lot of cities in China. Crikey. I feel like some countries I haven't given them many. And they should have more. How's Europe looking? Citied? Istria might need some. Yeah. I'm wondering about these colonies as well, because they probably need more than they have. I don't know. We'll see when I give them independence, because that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to do that. Just boom, loads of countries. It's going to be really cool. And you probably need more countries, because these guys are a really rising economy at this point. They're going to get really strong in the future, once they get it all together, which is going to happen pretty soon. So these colonies direct their forces down to Sulawesi, which is this island over here. They take this weird looking northern bit. It looks a bit like a lizard if you think about it. Kind of. Yeah. They take the tailish sort of end and get down to capturing half of their major cities, which is one. They separate the island and get pretty close to capturing the second major city, but instead they just divert their forces to taking this entire western chunk, because the Grenadans can help them out better over there, before taking those islands and taking the major city over there. So from here they are to travel eastwards and take a lot of these islands. Oh, it's going to be so much colouring in. Why do I do this to myself? Oh well, and then send the forces to help the Iberians. I mean, the Sakhalin and Iberia have probably never interacted in their life. And that's so funny. So they help capture this island major city. before sending their forces down to the capital of New Guinea. The Iberians managed to capture another city before encircling the capital of this island. And they finally managed to take that, along with some of these islands as well. So that's pretty cleared up. Down here in Australia, that colony is taken down. And over here in China, that also falls. So it's not looking good. And although India's kind of going, guys, let's peace out over this. Yeah, no, they want their stuff, because some countries haven't got their stuff. So effectively, all of the countries divert their forces over here, as there's about 5 countries, I think, that still haven't got their stuff. If I'm missing a country, I'm really sorry to them, but I think I got everyone, I believe. Anyway, sorry about that if I missed someone. So the British will be going along the Sumatran coast. They head to the northern part over here and take that, before progressing down the eastern coast. That's pretty easy, as you know, Indian forces have really deserted this place. They're going back to their country, having to defend there. It's just like, what's the point? We're fighting all of the colonial powers other than ourselves. They should probably just instigate a civil war, just so they can also fight themselves. The French are back in Vietnam. Well, this is more Cambodia, which apparently only has one major city, and they capture that. It should probably have more, just don't worry about it. So the French take that, and this is another astounding victory for the Green French team, who's been doing pretty good since they came into power in the country. And people are very pro their regime, their way of governing, and they like it a lot more than they do the old French country. I'm really bummed up as well, so that's good. It's not. So I'm sorry if I sound a bit different. Yep, so there you go, they managed to take the Cambodian colony, and from that the British, the French, and the Irish will team up on the Malaysian peninsula. So they managed to close down there, and the British capture the Singapore sort of city. Well, it's not, but you know, well. And the Irish go into the central bit, and there we go for that. These islands will get captured. Oh no, updating the map is going to be painful. And from here, you know, everyone just works together in securing these islands, which they do. So that's easy. Java is the final stronghold of Indian colonization. And boom, it gets taken. So let's have a look at a peace treaty with all these places. Oh no, it's not going to be easy. And I don't like that. That's not going to be fun. So is Sweden? Yes, is Sweden? Sweden, what are you? Anyway, they're going to. They're not that color. Oh, they're the darker blue. Yep, so the Swedish will be taking the northern islands of Madagascar, northern territories of Madagascar. Of course, you know, it's pretty near to their South Madagascan colony, but will they be able to maintain control of it? Because there's a considerable amount of people living here, which doesn't scale against the major cities map, but oh well. And there's that. We can head up north to these New Breton Islands. You know, the Bretons are kind of like the Algerians, in which they really don't take too much stuff. And that's because Brittany recognises that they're not as powerful as a lot of other colonial powers. They can't deal with taking a lot of these territories and stuff. We've got Florida, and Florida is an awful lot of territory for them. It's a huge amount of stuff, and a lot of their population's gone there. It's an interesting thing to have. So they don't want to deal with too much. Anyway, there's Brittany. Let's go to the blue team. And they will take the Andaman Islands over here, which for some reason I just divided up. I don't know why. Let's just not divide it up, shall we? Boom and boom. I think they're the third country to own those islands, so that's interesting. Next up we have the British. They, as I said before, will be getting Sumatra. In my original plan for this, I think, what empires might look like, I actually had it planned the red team would take over the island of Sumatra, which kind of inspired the British to take over it, in my mind, because I wanted it to be red. I just wanted it to be red. I was like, it's going to be red now. I've imagined it as a red island, and it will be a red island. But then, the red team ended up collapsing in a giant war, and it wasn't very feasible that they go and colonize this, because I have other plans for them. And also, they're not very powerful at this point. I mean, they're not too weak, but they also kind of are. So that was good. Sentence there. The Line team, not the Line team, the Irish country will be getting the Malay Peninsula, which is a nice bit of stuff to have. It's really good for controlling trade routes and stuff. The Irish Empire is different to other countries in that they don't really take the most habitable amount of land. They think of land as more like, how can we use this, and that might be important for other bits. So like, they have Canada, the old Quebec bit, and I mean this is the more habitable areas of Canada, but they mostly have it for like the fur trade and stuff. That's why this colony is so large. Fur trade. Down here in Australia, no, they're probably kind of just curious, but and this one's all about controlling the trade routes. So in the Africa thing, it might be more about resources than practicality, but we'll have to see. Next up we have the Granadan country. I need to actually get their colour up, which, as we all remember, takes an extraordinarily long amount of time. So that's good. Color combination. Bardic inspiration. 73 followed by 166. That's not 166. 166. And finally, to end it all off, a 45. Then for the Iberian country, because they are going to be pretty soon, 130 by 0 to the green, and then 170 on the blue scale. Great, at least that sentence made sense. So Granada has managed to get the entire island of Borneo, which is probably just going to mean that David Attenborough ends up being Spanish. He does stuff in Borneo. Borneo is the place with loads of stuff we haven't explored. Or at least it was last time I checked. Did we all explore it? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of wildlife in Borneo, and at the moment they haven't explored all the wildlife, so that's cool. Pretty interesting discovery is going to be made in Granada. I mean, it's nice to think about all these countries and what else they're doing other than like geopolitical sort of stuff. They're like all the different discoveries and the way people live in each of these countries. I think that's pretty interesting. So, yeah, be interesting to think about that maybe in the future. But oh well, the French country. Where were they? What colour was the French country? I have no clue. It's going to take a really long time to find the French as well. Probably. France. Oh, right. Is this it? Yeah. 40. Nice. Anyway, so the French are back in Indochina. I kind of just went, that seems about right. The French returning to the Vietnamese area. It just kind of fit in my mind. I don't know why, but it did. Anyway, with the Philippines, yeah, it turns out the Spanish are back here as well, which is some things that don't change. Watch out for the Americans. Yeah, I don't think America is going to colonize the Philippines in this reality, but also can't be sure, so I'd keep a lookout. So they take this entire southern Filipino colony, as well as one Chinese island chain thing. It's probably like multiple islands, but it's one big island. And they take that because, the Chinese had signed to that. So, oh well, take that. They also take this island as well, but there you go, it's pretty cool. The It's not the Norwegians, no. The Cicalanese are next up. They took the island of Sulawesi, mainly because they can grow stuff here. I mean, just imagine living in the Cicalanese country. Effectively, it's just frozen stuff. It's really hard to grow anything there, and most of their food is from imports from other countries. They went away and colonized Alaska, which is really good for getting food into the country, so that didn't help much. It's like food stuff. It helped with their economy, don't get me wrong, but food, not really. They're this massive country, and they still can't really feed their people very well. They also got all these other islands as well, so that's pretty good. And it's going to be a good place to grow stuff, which is the main bit. So this is going to become like almost 100% agricultural society down there. The Norwegians are next up. I said that and then just went, nope, I mean Sakhalin. So they took the island of Java. You're going to take a few of these islands, but actually just one, and leave it at that. It's a nice place, grow stuff. They're very similar to Sakhalin, in which it's very cold. After that we have the Istrians, who get all of this, the Timor place, and all those other surrounding islands. So that's their colony. Then we go over to Papua New Guinea. New Guinea, not Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is the eastern bit. So they take all of this stuff, it's a lot of land. Papua New Guinea is like it's like the fourth biggest island in the world. It's one of the biggest islands in the world, I know that much. So this is a pretty nice thing for them to take. And it doesn't serve that much purpose other than to have. But, you know, it's good stuff. That was very vague and very unhelpful, but you know, they've got this now. Not all colonies need to be immensely useful. Like, British Somaliland. We literally just got people to herd camels there. Why did we need them to herd camels? Actually, we also controlled the Gulf of Aden with that. That was probably a poor example, but you know, sometimes people just colonize stuff for the point of colonizing it. It's effectively what Iberia's done, because they need to maintain their spot as now the second strongest country in the world. Because yes, the Indians have been ousted from their position as the strongest country in the world, which is now Britain. Yeah, honestly, in my plans, I intended that to be the Terracotta Nation, but the Terracotta Nation's empire just didn't really compare to the British one in this. So, yeah, they're not as powerful. I mean, they're still number 3, but Ireland might surpass them in the coming future. But only time will tell. I mean, also the Irish kind of treat the people better in their colonies, because the South, so Texan one, there's some unhappy people there. But also, like, the Terracotta Nation sent a lot of their criminals to Texas. Poor Texas. But now they can send them all to Australia, so that's good. Also, they have a huge Australian colony now, so that's going to be great for taking over all the Australian desert. It's really exciting for them. Can't wait to colonize an entire massive desert. Yeah, we should probably get down to that. And that has most of it, except for China. Let's do... no. The South China colony is this one. In this color. There we go. So this was Korea's new colony. Bam, bam. It's pretty close to home, but it's mostly just so they can keep tabs on their biggest enemy, I think, which is China. You know, they really don't like the Chinese off in Korea, and it's good for trade routes and stuff, but also, China, we know what you're doing, because we are right next door. I mean, they already are, because they're in Korea, but they kind of have them encircled at this point. So it's very interesting. Interesting. And I think there's one final colony left. And one final country who hasn't colonized anything. And that's Japan. Because for some reason, Japan decided they wanted Tanzania. In a way, Japan ended up with a pretty bad selection. They're one of the weakest countries in this group of dividing up powers, the colonial powers. They are one of the weakest, which meant that for their selection it was like, do you want a load of random islands? Do you want, I don't know, do you want the Timor Islands? Do you want Tanzania? And like, oh, take Tanzania. So the Japanese weren't very happy with how this ended up, but they do have some plans for investing in things in Tanzania, but really that probably just won't happen. Anyway, so that's the Chinese new colony in the Solomon Islands and Bougainville, although it's kind of just part of the Solomon Islands island chain, so, well. Anyway, let's check in on India. Yep, everybody here is just immensely unhappy. The Indians, in a fit of rage, are just going to go ahead and annex their good old pal, recently created nation over here. They're gone. Oh well. They didn't last for very long, and I did not care about them. I didn't like how they looked. Oh well. More Indian Empire. At least you gained a slight bit of land in today's episode, but it's going to be pretty interesting seeing how this has gone. It's going to affect a lot of things, and some certain countries over here, just north of Iran, might be really affected, mightn't they? In the next episode, I do want to kind of do like a few, maybe just one more thing, two more things, a couple more things in today's episode. Just a few more things. So the Bretons finally take over the entire island of Tasmania. I was just going to give them these islands so we can be done with their colonial Tasmanian efforts. Tasman efforts. Over here in New Zealand, the British managed to take over the rest of the southern island. Is it just called the South Island? I want to say it probably is. So that is more of the British colony down here. And they make their way off the New Zealand island, and well, they've probably entirely explored this thing, but they're going to start properly colonizing it relatively soon. The Terracotta Nation has not wasted any time getting down to colonizing Australia. So they make some pretty huge advancements into this subcontinent. Sort of, it's a lot of land. It's a lot of land. It's big. It's a big old desert. I don't know why I did that voice either. I don't know. I'm tired and cold and ill. Great. Anyway, so they take over this entire huge chunk, and it looks like the Terracotta Nation might be trying to make an Australian hegemon, and they probably will. Don't you worry. So there you go. They were very pleased with what they got out of this treaty, but yeah, I might just do the rest of the Australian expansion. I was thinking, oh yeah, I might not, but oh well, we've gone down this path already. I didn't intend for it, but it was lurking. Just anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about, or even what I'm saying. The Irish will colonize in the southern area, and the Iberians, who have a very small colony down in Australia compared to the other ones, will expand theirs slightly westwards. The Koreans will continue to expand around the northern area, it's just without a desert. So that's fun, I suppose. Yay for Korea. Good old Korea. You know, only the Terracotta Nation would have taken this amount of desert. Or China. You know, China's really pretty desperate to make a nice empire at this point, because they're worried about how much these new European powers are going to dominate this area. You know, in hindsight, probably wasn't a good idea to let them get away with this, but also, you know, you've got destroyed and colonized. And, you know, you don't have that many colonies to get split up by the colonial powers, so I feel as if maybe they would have just taken your entire country. It's that scary. For the Chinese, so probably had some good choices. And 170. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this Iberian colony. It just doesn't look nice. So I don't like it. It's really weird. Like, what is this? Strange looking blob. It's just say some horrible things to it and make it go, oh, what? What did I do? And where's the hole in the board? Stupid borders. Why? There we go. Anyway, so Ireland will take the southern bit and they're making a pretty nice Irish, southern Australian colony. I don't know. But they are getting quite competitive with the Iberian nation, who's not too far ahead of them in power ranking. But they're kind of annoyed the Iberians threw their own small colony down here in the south. They'd like to buy it, effectively. So yep, and as our probably final thing for today's episode, the Terracotta Nation will be launching an invasion of this small sort of Czechian looking country that isn't in Czechia. So I'm not really going to bother getting up to the invasion colours. You can guess how this goes. They have one major city. They pretty quickly encircle it, like a month or so. And, yep, very quickly, this becomes new territory of the Terracotta Empire. A Dutch Empire. So, nice. This makes their eastern stuff look considerably better. And this country really didn't exist for very long. I feel kind of bad getting rid of them this quickly. But, oh, it's alright, you know. They probably won't be back. So yeah, I think that is it for today's episode. It was mostly centered on dividing up India. However, you know, it's pretty cool, I would say. And we're going to have a look at the effects of that in the next episode. The map looks really different, and I'm enjoying it. You know, we've got some new wars coming up. I read about the 1825, I think, at this point. Maybe 1830. You know, Oceania is getting colonized. I feel like 1835, to be honest. Maybe not too long until Africa, and then beyond that, world wars, modernization. It's a lot to get prepared for. I'm pretty excited to see it. I hope you are too. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, do whatever. Peace. Have a nice rest of your day.